Hello, everyone. I am Denisey Evans, and we are still making change. Look, when I started this was all about, magnifying everyday people who do extraordinary things. People in our orbit who lack the visibility that they deserve. I am so happy to have my next guest on, especially because it is Women's History Month. I have known her entire life. She is my first cousin, and I know that there are some people out there who are going to say she always interviewing her people. You're right. I tend to believe that my people are exceptional and they all have very distinct stories and journeys. I love to interview the ones, though, who, when they came to that fork in the road, they allowed their conscience to guide them. They canceled out all of the outside noise and they listened to the whispers. They chose head over heart. And even though that road was lined with generational curses, uncertainty, and at times disparity, in the words of Jay-Z, and I'm paraphrasing, they didn't run from the pain, they ran towards it.
Yeah.
This cousin, Miss Robinson, is no different. My cousin made a preemptive strike to break those generational curses and to master the art of forward progress. I have watched this sister overcome adversity from afar. Now I have the pleasure of watching her live her dreams out loud. Cousin, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I love you. How
Yeah.
are you?
Man, I'm great. I'm getting emotional. I'm like, oh, that's it's a lot. No, I mean, everything. I couldn't be more proud to share this platform with you and
Yes,
to be an example, someone who's relatable to reach our community
yes,
because you know what I mean. Like it's really a lot of it is not about willpower. It's about skill power. Like you
yes,
need to have the skills to navigate life. And so I'm
yes.
excited to talk about my journey. I love
Hey,
it. And yeah, it's going to be exciting.
hey, I appreciate it. And to add on to what you said, mindset is everything. And you are a true example of that, of having a strong mindset. So, cousin, I want to get right into it. Let's start from the beginning. What
Yeah.
was it like growing up in Wiggins in the red quarters?
Oh my God. Okay, so first of all, you said red quarter, like all the people on the internet know where it is. But yeah, so we as being like a small town, obviously those of you who know me that may be watching, obviously you already know what's up.
Yeah.
Um, but like most towns in small towns like Mississippi and
Hmm.
other areas, there's a kind of a standard socioeconomic background,
Hmm.
a lot of different challenges. And,
Yeah.
growing up, obviously, in the red quarters, that was affectionately known as the street that we grew up on. And,
Yes.
it was so much love. And I look back and you think, like, man, we were poor. But wow, like we
Yes.
had some incredible
Yes.
experiences.
Rich in love. Always.
Oh
Always
my
rich in love.
like wow,
Always.
I think back and that like that was part of you know what shepherded me into just
Yes.
even the belief, you know
Yes.
what I mean, that I was able to just garner and cultivate, for myself. And so I mean it was hard, back in the 80s. Obviously, those of you who know me personally know that like my mom dealt with drugs back in the days. That was so many years ago. I mean, it's been like 30 plus years. So, I mean, I'm just
Yes.
grateful. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
We love Pam. Yes. Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
so, that was going on. My father wasn't around for a very long time for like at least the first 12 years of my life. Even though your mama was like, this your folks right here. Like, so just so you know, like,
Yes.
this
That's
your
my girl. That's my girl.
so and then I think probably the most tragic thing, growing up was like losing my brother, you
Yeah.
know, right before I attended college.
Wow.
And I mean,
Wow.
that was just,
Now,
sobering on.
I'm curious because you brought up the loss of Mayshawn. This was right before a very pivotal part of your life.
Yeah.
So, what college did you go to, and what was that process like in picking that college?
So I lost my brother, Mayshawn. He was 2 years older than me. He was 20 at the time, and I was 18. and I was headed to Xavier University of Louisiana, which I had aspirations of becoming a doctor. You know,
Yes.
that didn't pan out, but life the way it was supposed to. So at the end of the day, it's all good. And so like this occurred right before Xavier, and I chose Xavier. Number one, I was figuring all of this shit out on my own.
Yeah.
Like my parents, like my grandparents, they couldn't lead me, not because they didn't want to,
Yeah.
but they just couldn't. Like, right, they couldn't
I
lead
get
me
it.
to somewhere that they hadn't been,
I get it.
right?
Yes.
Um, However, with that, they they supported me.
Mm.
So like even if they didn't understand like what
Yes.
I was trying to do, like they
Yes.
were like, she's smart, she's been like showing
Yes.
me, and you know what I mean, the way that I showed up, and so they trusted me, and so Xavier was like,
Mm.
it was close enough to the house, but far enough that I felt like I was someplace else, and then man, the best decision of my life. It
Wow.
completely changed the trajectory of my life. It's a historically black university, and
Mm.
like, it was so dope to just see other people that looked like me who had similar struggles. And then
Yes.
obviously there were the elites, you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like,
Yes.
but I was like, hey, we in the same place.
That's it.
It's
That's
fair
it.
game.
Yes.
So yeah, so it was really like proximity. I
Yeah.
did want to be around people that looked like me,
Yeah.
and I literally drove myself. Yeah, I think I had like the 1989 Honda Accord that had been passed down from my sister, and then with the flip up eyes.
Oh, sure. I'm with it. I'm with it. I love
Yeah,
it. Now, I'm
and I
curious.
yeah.
What has the healing process been like after, or rather, since losing Mayshawn?
Oh man, so like when it first happened, I didn't really have time to like even just kind of
Mm.
process it, because Mayshawn, his death occurred on August 2nd, 2000, and then we were burying him on August 7th,
Wow.
2000, and then I was headed to Xavier like around August 16th.
Wow. Everything
So
happening
like
so
we're
fast.
talking about, yeah, and so like it was a lot of discussion, with my mom, like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Can I go? Like, are you gonna be, and then obviously the tapes were playing in my head, because a lot of times there's a lot of judgment around when
Mm-hmm.
you make a decision that you have to make
Yep.
for you.
Yes.
You know
Yes.
what I mean? And my mom, fortunately, while she was in like deep pain, and I think that still reverberates now.
Yeah.
She said to me, she was like, "Baby, like I know this has always been your dream,
Mm.
so go." And
I
I
love it.
remember just clear as day, my grandmother, my grandfather, my aunt Vasile, my mom dropped me off at Xavier, and 24
Wow.
years later,
I love it.
here I am.
I
So
love it. Look, it's nothing like
yeah.
having a strong support system. It's not.
Oh, for sure. Like you said, I never went without love.
Yes.
So
Yes. We were always rich in that. No doubt about that. I'm
yeah.
curious, going through everything that you were going through, especially at that time, losing your brother, moving to a different state, starting a new school, how did you separate your grief from your goals?
Man, that's a great question. Um, like as I mentioned, I didn't have time for grief, and honestly, like I didn't even know like what did it mean to grieve, right? Because
Um,
we just grew up seeing people pass on, but like no one
yes,
talked about feelings. Nobody talked about anything. It was just
yes,
like you just keep going, but like you realize that like trauma lives in the body.
it does. It does.
It's not in the mind, it's in the body, and like not even really understanding like what I needed to express about everything, because there was a lot of chatter, because it was like,
Mhm.
oh, she's not sad, but I'm like, yo, like no one can know like how you feel, right?
Exactly.
And at that point it was just me and my mom.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what do you do with that? And
exactly.
so I had to make an executive decision, right?
Mm.
Because my mom wasn't in the position to do so. You know what I mean? To I guess delay my grief.
I get it. And no one can tell you how to grieve, and
Yeah,
there's definitely, no time stamp.
yeah, exactly. So I delayed my grief for years, and I don't know that, like I don't know what point probably around like 2007 ish, where
Hmm.
I was like in this space of learning new information and like
Uh-huh.
all of these things. And so I began to like, just kind of like relax
Yes.
into accepting that like loss is just a part of life. And
Yes.
like,
Yes.
that was like, no matter how we slice it, like, oh, like wrong place at the wrong time. Like, no, like that,
Yes.
like
Yes.
if it was supposed to be that, then he would be here
Yes.
likely, unless something else. And so it's like it's hard for us to have like those conversations about it.
It is.
But it wasn't until like many years later that like I intentionally like
Mm.
faced it
Yes.
and like just allowed and like held space for
Good.
like that his no longer physical presence,
Yeah.
right? Because I
And
we
that's
don't
not
go in.
easy. That's not
Yeah,
easy,
exactly.
especially
It's
when
not.
that's your best friend that you have grown up with
It's
your whole
not.
life.
Like we, obviously we were siblings, so he was always like, "Oh, she always, y'all think she don't do anything." I was just sneaky, you know what I'm saying? But I still got good grades though, so
Yes, yes.
I stayed
And
out of.
hey, Mayshawn was a sweetheart. May his
He was,
soul rest in peace.
yeah,
Yes. Now
yeah,
I'm
he was.
curious. We talked about you going to Xavier. What type of degree did you graduate with? And what was the college experience like for anybody out there who doesn't know?
Oh, wow. I mean, listen, you could just see me beaming. It was, it was a pivotal point in my life. It was the most
Mm,
incredible experience. Like, man, I had so much fun at
wow.
Xavier. I met incredible people, like little old me, like just being me, and then
Yes,
like finding that value in this, like, yo, I'm dope.
yes,
Everybody else think I'm dope, and like I don't have to like be someone like
yes.
different. And it was just like just connecting with people all over the world, making friendships with like my close friends and families and associates are
Yes.
like cardiothoracic anesthesiologists and orthopedic surgeons
Oh,
and
wait.
lawyers and like,
I can't
you know
even
what I
say
mean?
the
Like
first one.
that's,
I can't even say the first one.
like it's like that's what my network became
Yes,
because like I
yes.
was open and I was in an environment where people were committed to learning.
And see, that's what I'm
And
talking about. That's why I
you know what
wanted
I
to
mean? Like
interview
people were
you.
committed to learning.
It's
And like,
about Black excellence, and you
yeah.
are an example of that. And not just
Oh,
based on the adversity that you faced, but the attitude that you had running
oh yeah.
towards that, because it is not easy, cousin, not easy at all. Now,
No.
you transitioned from New Orleans to Atlanta around the time of Katrina. How big
Yes.
was that adjustment?
Well, man, that was huge because man, I was what, 22.
Oh,
I was on my 5 year plan at Xavier because I was thinking, okay. I remember like one of my professors, he was telling me, he's like, Miss Robinson, no one's gonna let you into their grad school because you're lazy, and he was right.
mm,
At the time, like it really like, and it stuck with me for so long, and I believe
mhm,
it probably was played a part in like my delay and like into law school, which we'll
yeah,
get to that. But like, at the time I was 22, I accepted the job. I graduated with my degree in like business and marketing
okay,
from Xavier, and I started out in sales, and I was in like the subprime market
yes,
during that time, and
yes,
that's when like Ameriquest and Countrywide and
yes,
like all of those other subprime lenders and stuff are out there. But like at the time, it was cool for me because I'm 22 and making probably like 30,000. I'm like, oh girl,
you rolling it off.
going from zero to so. I was excited about it, and then like started working, and then 28 days later, Katrina happened, lost everything, and I'm
Mm,
like, oh well, oh shit, what do I do now? But like that's where resilience comes into place because like, okay, the office shut down.
yes,
What are y'all gonna do? Don't think I'm not gonna call to find out what the resources are, and so
yes,
I had to like, it was so many people that were displaced at that time,
hmm,
right? So you had to like get on your hustle and see like who had space for you in what city. And
yes,
so at the time it was like Maryland, a couple other places. And so I Atlanta was the place that I just kind of honed in on. I kept
mm,
calling this office, and this guy named Giovanni Russo, if he's listening, I think I
okay,
reached out to him on LinkedIn like probably like 5 years ago. It was like, thank you for giving me that chance.
yes,
And so I kept calling him like, hey, listen, I need to,
yes,
something needs to happen because New Orleans is not gonna open up for. And he finally was like, man, this girl keeps calling me. and he gave me a shot.
Persistence,
and
baby.
and I
It
and
pays
I
off.
moved there. I didn't have any family. I had some girlfriends there, so I was like,
Mm.
listen, I'm gonna figure it out. So ended up rooming with some girlfriends when I first got there. That I went to Xavier. One was like in chiropractor school out there, and
Yes.
then other one that graduated from Tulane. She's from Brazil. Like it was just such a diverse group of like
Yes.
dope women. It was scary, making that move, but
Hmm.
I was like, I ain't going back
I don't blame
because
you.
that's what I told myself like from the beginning. Like
Yes.
I knew that I couldn't go back home.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I just knew that I couldn't. So I kept going. It was uncomfortable.
Mm.
However, I just knew like God had something like greater for me, and I just as long as I stayed after it, then like whatever that thing is
Yes.
or was, it would continue to be revealed, and I just kept after it. So it was a huge transition, but
Wow.
one that was
Yes. Hey,
another like great part of my
for
life.
real, there's enlightenment in being uncomfortable. There's progress
Oh,
in being uncomfortable.
that thing right there though, like really, I believe like one of the greatest skills that I've cultivated along the way
Hmm.
is like to really cultivate a new and more compassionate relationship with like uncomfortable
Yes.
situations or challenges,
Yes.
because like it's all gonna fucking show
It's
up.
growth.
Like I mean, like
It's
I
growth.
don't know, like what? No, it ain't even growth. It's just living. Like
Hmm.
it's life requires a level of flexibility in your
It does.
thinking, in the way that you show up, and in
Hmm.
the way that you allow like all
Hmm.
the negative,
Yes.
which is just like any other emotion. And like trust me, I struggle with this, so I'm not saying like I'm somehow
Oh,
above like
trust me.
not sinking
We
back
we
into
are
the
all
same thoughts and
walking
all that.
people that are
Right, but
works
what I'm
in
saying
progress.
is that
Yes.
when you focus in on that and you learn how to like invite invite the uncomfortable
Yes.
feelings or pain or negative feelings or whatever you want to, and like allow your body to learn to like process it,
Yes.
then it just keeps
Hmm.
opening up, like,
Yes.
and life just keeps getting better and
And
better.
see, those are things that we aren't taught because we don't talk about, especially from the community that we come from. We don't talk
Yeah,
about mental health. We don't focus on it. We don't talk about mindfulness and wellness. And I'm not going to blame that on the people who came before us. If you don't know,
no,
you don't do. But it's so important to have those tools in the toolbox because you never know when they are going to come in handy. And life shows us every day that it comes at us fast and at unopportune times. Cousin,
yeah, yeah,
you made a life for yourself in Atlanta. What inspired you to become a lawyer and move to Houston? Girl, you're
man.
nationwide. You're
So
nationwide.
wow, so when I was in Atlanta, right, and I came out of school like in '05. That's like when the markets were kind of
Mm-hmm.
all over the place
Yes.
at the time. And so I only had my bachelor's degree. I
Mm.
didn't really have a plan.
Don't say
I
only.
was like,
Don't say only, okay? You had your bachelor's degree. Don't
right.
say only, okay?
No, but I'm saying, but back then when I was trying to figure
Yeah.
out like and be there and like in a foreign place
Yes.
and how to market myself and all these kinds of things, and so being out there, I again having fun. That's when Lil Jon and Usher was like, yeah, in the club, baby. I was in all. So
You say you was in there,
trust
huh?
me, life was life was good. Okay. And so but anyway, so like the the industries, like right, the mortgage crisis happened, what, 2006, boom. So that job that I accepted and moved to Atlanta, 9 months later, shut down,
Mm.
right? Because all the subprime mortgages were being shut out, and
Yep.
feds were taking over and everything. And so I was like, oh shit, like what do I do?
Mm.
And so I pivoted into like property management. So I
Yes.
worked in like leasing and stuff for a couple of
Yes.
years, which was cool, but like I knew it wasn't like,
It wasn't for you. That wasn't the
yeah,
end
I
game.
mean, it was just kind of like I knew I wasn't going anywhere, and then so I was like, oh, like okay, well, what else am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And then so I went back into another sales role because it was like that was in lockstep with like my degree,
Yes.
sales. Because even my peers that went to school with me, who did well, who had all the like the fancy internships like
Mm-hmm.
3M, and, Tabasco and all that, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? I didn't have that because I was kicking it. You know what I'm saying? So and so I was out there, and then the other industry I got into, the logistics industry,
Mm.
and then started working for a nationwide company, and then they shut down the office,
Oh.
and I was like, here I am again without a job. And so some people that work with me
Mm.
at Schneider, it was Schneider, the big orange trucks on the road.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and they were, and this African guy, his name is Charles. He was like, man, he said, TJ, he said, I've never seen anybody work as hard as you. And we
Mm.
opened up shop. We took some of our clients,
Oh,
opened up shop in his cousin's garage.
nice.
It was cold. It was like we was like, all right, we're like, we just gonna call on these people because we didn't have,
Yes.
we're out there again. We're like 24. You know
Look,
what I
life is
mean?
life, and then you have to adjust. I get it.
And we was just adjusting, and so we was like living on unemployment, and calling on our clients, getting a little
Yes.
free
Yes.
commission. And then like I was like, man, I can't keep doing this. And so
Mm.
my best friend, Ashley Reese, if you're looking, um, she she hit me up. She was like, yo, she was like, you want to study for the LSAT?
Mm.
And I was like, yeah, shit, I ain't got nothing else to do. Because at this point it was like a Hail Mary. Like I knew I needed to do something, and just
Yes.
because of how
Yes.
the economy was at the time,
Yes.
I wasn't really sure. I wasn't confident enough to really navigate at that
Hmm.
time at the level that I am now.
I
And
get it.
so, and then, I thought about it back when I was at Xavier, but I knew that like after I
Yes.
graduated, I wasn't about to go straight back at
Yes.
school. So that's why I waited 5 years.
Yes.
So I took the LSAT in 2009.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Got a couple acceptance letters.
Man.
At the time, I was unemployed, and Southern came calling, and it
Yes.
was like, whoa, like I could have stayed in Atlanta, but I was like, ooh, it's too much fun. You know what I mean? And then so I'm I'm negotiating with
Yes.
myself, like, yo, like you can't stay here and then think you're gonna do that.
Yes.
So that's why I made the decision to attend, because I knew, I was like, I want better for myself.
Yes.
And if I want better for myself, then it's on me.
That's what I'm
I
talking
mean, ain't
about.
nobody gonna come and save and like do this for me.
This is what
So
I'm talking about. That's why this sister has mastered the art of forward progress. Okay. All right, because I might
yeah,
have folded like a lawn chair a long time ago. We got to go back to the drawing board. But I love that you have chosen
yeah,
to move forward. You have looked adversity in the face, and you have decided that, you know what, I am not going to take a detour. I am going to go directly through these roadblocks. And cousin, that is the definition of
yeah,
endurance and resilience. So I absolutely love it.
yeah,
Now, I
yeah.
am curious, what type of law do you practice?
So I practice corporate transactional law. So
Ooh.
uh, since I started practicing law back in like 2013. Well, actually, okay. So I've been, I graduated from law school in
Mm,
2013, and I didn't get my license until 2017.
that's all right.
I passed the bar in
Yes.
2015, but listen, right? This is another story in resilience, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there was something that I wasn't candid about on my law school application. And because of that, I had to go before the board of law examiners. Like I had to hire an attorney to
Mm.
represent me, because they weren't even going to let me practice because I didn't disclose something. It would have
Oh.
prevented me from attending law school, because it's all about candor,
Yes.
right? At the end of the day, it's not about what you did. It's about, are you going to tell me the truth,
Yes.
right? Because if you're gonna be out there, and so I didn't, right? And so I'm like, oh shit, like I just went through all this and I can't practice. Dude, we can't do that. We can't do that. And so, so I overcame that hurdle.
Yes.
But even prior to getting my license, I entered into
Mm.
the oil and gas industry. I started at the Texas legislature in
Ooh.
2012, 2013.
Yes.
So during my last year of law school, I did an internship um, during session in Austin, and I worked for a long-standing House member,
Mm.
beautiful African American sister, super
Yes.
sharp. She was around for about 25 years at the time, and because I didn't have a plan after law school, when I got there, I was like, to the chief of staff, I was like, hey, listen, I'm here for one reason only, and that's for a
Yes.
job. So whatever I need to do, then I need
Yes.
this job. And so that's what I did. And then I was poor because the legislatures don't pay no
I
money.
get it.
And literally my first
Mm.
job came from, no kidding. So during my second year of law school, I was out at a bar with my homegirl Sharita and my homeboy Clarence. That's still like my little law school
Oh,
crew.
shoot.
Um, and I had on a Southern University Law
Mm-hmm.
Center, like sweater or something like
Yeah.
that. And I passed by these guys at the bar, and he's like, "Oh, I went to Southern." I was like, "Oh, where you went to Southern?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he passed out his business card, and at the time he was in like construction law or like something around contractual law,
Yeah.
and he encouraged us to take like construction law as like an additional
Oh,
to like the traditional contract law, which is just like around formation.
yeah.
Anyway,
I
whatever.
love it.
So when I was seeking to leave the legislature in Austin,
Hmm.
I pulled that card out and I was like, "Hey, do you know anyone that's hiring, or are you hiring? Because I'm looking to make a move because I need to make more money, like a whole lot more
Yeah.
than what I'm making now." And like I kid you, like full transparency, when I graduated in 2013, that was $35,000. Do you
Mm.
understand? People look at you like, "Oh, but you're a lawyer and you," but like humility
Yep.
is one of the most like the thing that you have to carry with you, like
Yes.
resilience, because I knew that I needed
It
money.
is a valued asset.
Like
Yes, it
my
is.
folks, they didn't have
Mhm.
it. Not that they didn't want to do it, they didn't have it. And so like
Mhm.
I couldn't say like, "Oh, I don't, nobody
I
have,"
get it.
like no, I gotta keep moving. And so that's how I ended up in house working in these oil and gas companies. Essentially, what I do is advise the business
Mm.
around risk mitigation issues. So, any type of contract or any type of deal that they're entering into.
Wow.
So, around contractual negotiation, just advising the business day to
Yes.
day business activities, and now, doing a little bit more of like employment law, diversity, equity, inclusion
Oh,
around like
yeah.
women
We all about the DEI space, baby. All
yeah.
about it.
So and I've had opportunity. Like again, I started out making 35,000, and then boom,
Yes.
I jumped Mario
Yes.
worlds. You know what I mean? That's how it happens, because but you have to be patient, like
Yes.
with your process, and be
That's it.
okay. Because I mean, don't get me wrong. There were times where I would look at my peers like, damn, they got this, but like that's for them. That's not for me.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so but I never didn't celebrate them.
Yes.
But you can feel that angst of comparison
Oh,
that
we kill
shows up.
ourselves by
No,
comparison
yeah,
constantly.
yeah,
And
yeah.
there's
So
no reason for it. There's no place for it at all. And that is part
no,
of the reason why I wanted to interview you. Because from the Red Quarters to Xavier, to Atlanta, to Houston, through all of this, you have faced adversity head on and you have managed to remain strong. And I know that that has to be attributed not to how you grew up, not to the people necessarily that raised you, but you building up on your mindset. So I want to know, what do you attribute to maintaining a positive, healthy growth mindset?
yeah, man. Listen, I I've just like have this passion for learning.
Mm,
Like I believe that like you have to remain
yes,
curious like about yourself,
yes,
and like you really do have to like hold space within yourself to say like, I'm gonna question that,
yes,
and I'm gonna question that and that and that and that and that. Just because someone told you that that was so
exactly.
doesn't mean it's so. Because like you have to see like, how does this feeling within
Yes,
me, and I don't have to accept
nope,
everything, right? You know what I mean? Including the lies I tell myself about
yep,
myself. That I tell myself every
mm-hmm,
day. You know what I'm
mm-hmm,
saying? And so like it's I just believe that like it's kind of like the marshmallow test, which I kind of alluded to earlier. So there's this test where they take young
mm-hmm,
children and they put them in a room, and say they put like one Twix in front of them, and they have the other piece on the other
yes,
side, and they give them the first one, but they say, "Hey, wait,
mm-hmm,
don't don't eat the other one until I tell you, and I come back in like two
yes,
minutes, and then wait." And they take the
mm-hmm,
children, right? So what the research showed was that children of the lower socioeconomic
mm,
background, red
mm-hmm,
quarters,
mm-hmm,
right? They likely failed at this test. And so this test said it predicted
mm-hmm,
like, oh, if people who could
yes,
self-regulation, right?
yes, mm-hmm,
Self-regulation to like, you know what I
yes,
mean? To not just like give up and like, or like
yeah.
lash out and like
We
all these
didn't
things,
grow up
because
with
a lot of people
discipline.
get
I
into
get
trouble
it.
because they can't control
Mm-hmm,
themselves. And so in that test, he said the socioeconomics shows that like, because they come from a scarcity environment, they're like, well, I'm gonna get it now because I might not I might not
Yep.
get it again, or I don't even trust the test taker to like bring that shit back
It's
into me.
true.
So like I'm gonna go ahead and get me now. So like that's what I said earlier. Like it's not so much about willpower but skill power, because that's a
Yes.
skill. And when you're living in scarcity and you're living in constant
Yes.
survival mode, your body is constantly like, I knew that was the environment that I grew up in, because it was what money don't grow on
Yep.
trees. If it ain't one thing or
Yep.
another, everybody die in threes.
That's it.
Like
That's it.
everything in it. And it's like, people, they used to call me the preacher when I came home, because I spoke
Yes.
differently, because I wasn't confirming what they already had
Yes.
concluded about what was
Mm-hmm.
possible. And like I just became, I knew that I couldn't tolerate in
Yes.
myself to make excuses, because nobody was going to come do this thing for
Mm-hmm.
me. So I had to show up for me, and I have to commit to growing. And I fuck up every
Look, who you
day.
telling?
You hear me?
Who you telling?
Like, so I'm not pretending, but when I tell you, like, I'm so intentional, I'm so curious about the questions of like,
Yes.
man, like, oh wow, this why this don't feel right to me, because it ain't right, because we came here to be abundant,
Yes.
and not to suffer. And I'm not talking about things, but like now, one of the greatest, oh man, quotes that when I worked at uh, this apartment
Mm-hmm.
community in Atlanta, Morningside Court. Jamie Strong, if she's watching, she was like the regional manager, and she said that if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you
Hmm.
there.
Ain't that the truth? Speak on it.
And so, like,
Ain't that the truth?
lately, I've just really been into like, because I know that like I've dated off of preference, not
Ooh,
principle.
who you
Why
telling?
I'm single. You know what I mean? Like there's so many
Yes.
concessions that I made in my
Yes.
life about me, negotiating me to me, and all of these
Mm-hmm.
things, because I didn't know what my values
Yes.
were.
And our worth is
And that becomes
non-negotiable. So yes.
right. Right. But if you identify, like, I value clarity,
Ooh,
right?
it's necessary.
So clarity in my relationships with my
Yes.
family, with everybody. Listen, how I am right
Mm-hmm.
now is how I should be everywhere.
Yes.
Like, I'm not someone different at work. Of course, obviously I don't use
Oh,
profanity
of
like that
course.
at
But
work.
we have to
You
show up
know,
as our whole authentic selves in every
yeah,
situation. We have
yeah.
to.
This is and so I just, man, I get excited to like learn shit about me. Like, I'm like, oh, but you was 100% complicit in that. So you mad because of what now? Oh, okay. You just mad because what you let somebody do. Like, it takes a lot to eat that.
Yes.
And some people like, but yeah, they're this way. But like, I can't control
Yes.
that thing. But I can control me. And so
And see, cousin,
I'm just constantly
that's
curious about it.
why
Like,
I'm so
you
glad
know,
that you are here, because making change is about being in a place of transparency. Because Lord knows I've lived a life, and the only way I could get to this place to even have these conversations was to recognize that who I was yesterday, I do not have to be that person today. The things that they said I've done, I may have done, but I am not that person. So thank you for
yeah,
being so transparent with your truth.
yeah,
Now, I'm listening
yeah.
to you, and I probably know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask, do you lean more on religion or spirituality?
Definitely
Mm,
spirituality. I mean, I've said publicly. I mean, obviously, grew up in a town where you had to go to
baby,
church. That
Sunday
was it.
school, choir practice, what you talking
I
about?
mean, you know what I mean. You had to show up. You had to show
Yep.
up. So that was a non-negotiable. And so I was in the choir, on the drill team, in the traveling choir, and everything. Which was like, still like, used to go to the feeding program back in the day. Like, all of that, playing kickball. I
Yes,
mean, crazy memories.
yes,
Just really, beautiful
yes.
memories. However, growing up, they talked about church, but they didn't really talk about like a real relationship, a connection.
I
and,
get
and
it.
it was like, and I never, and I guess probably back then I thought it was like, I was like, everything was like fire and brimstone, you're going to
Yeah,
hell. And I was like, oh shoot, I don't know,
yeah,
I ain't feeling this right here. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. You know what I mean? And
yes.
so and so I attended church because I had to. However, there was like no real
Hmm.
connection. And like, even throughout like Xavier and
I
like
get it.
dealing with Mayshawn's grief, and at some point I think I hit a wall in probably like '02, '03, where I became like really depressed and just started trying to read the
Mm-hmm.
Bible, but like again, still no like I can't really do it. And so when I was in Atlanta, uh, met an amazing, friend of mine, Amanda, and she's
Okay.
listening. And man, she's one of the most intelligent people I've ever
Mm.
met in my life. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Just profoundly, just curious
Yes.
and learning,
Constantly looking
you
to
know,
learn. I get that.
you know what I mean? Yeah, like expansive
Yes.
vocabulary. And so like she used to introduce me like Cornell West, and I
Ooh,
even have a
yeah.
signed book by him. And, just started like reading more into like how the mind
Yes.
works. And so that really kind of like led me into like just tapping into like, okay, how do I control my mind? How can I work to,
Mm-hmm.
filter the thoughts? How can
Yes.
I, you know what I mean? But now it's like, for me, it's about integrating and accepting everything that shows up, because
Ooh,
like an emotion is just an emotion. It's not like it's only the meaning that we assign
that's
to it
it.
because we're just conditioned to do that. And like I struggle with this, so I'm not like apart from it, but I recognize that like that's what it is.
Yes.
Like anxiety, like
Yes.
okay, anxiety is not a bad thing because it's usually there to also to like put you on point if like somebody's
Yes.
after you, or like,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying, like, you know what I mean, you driving and then
I
somebody,
get it.
so it's there for a purpose, but we tend to stay
We do.
stuck
We do.
in
Well, see,
it.
that's that place of
And that's
comfort. That's why we stay stuck. Mm-hmm.
fibromyalgia, arthritis, and then it
Yes.
manifests. It manifests, in
Yes.
the body. And so, anyway, so probably like when I was pregnant with my son in
Yay.
2019, 28, yeah, 2019, had him in 2020. A really dear friend of mine introduced me to the Chosen.
Mm.
He told me like, hey man, like the Chosen, and the Chosen was about Jesus and his
Yeah.
disciples. And he was like, I feel like this is just a really accurate like biblical interpretation
Oh,
of like Jesus and his disciples and just the stories. And man, and then during that time, obviously because I was pregnant alone with my son during
yeah.
COVID, because it was COVID, nobody can
Uh-huh.
go anywhere, and like all of these things. And so I just felt like, I felt like God was like, this is your wilderness period.
Mm.
And like I had to lean in so fucking
Mm-hmm.
tough because I was literally alone,
Yes.
right? Literally alone. And I'm like, all this stuff coming up, right? You can't drink it away, you can't smoke it away because
Yep.
you're pregnant. You know
Nothing.
what I'm saying? So so I just had to sit. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I spent a lot of time sitting. And I've always, again, I'm
Yeah.
open minded because life requires
It does.
flexibility. It's
It's
the
mandatory.
inflexible people that find themselves like in this constantly like complaining about like what your life is, but you can
Yes.
change it though. Like I promise you that you can
Yes.
surprise
That's why the
yourself,
mind is so
and you,
powerful.
you can be.
Yes.
And that's what I tell people like all the time. Like when I look back at my friends who I still rock
Yes.
with today, Maya, Tamika, shout out, what's up, girls? Shaka, all you guys that I still rock with today. Like it's still love. Like I'm still
Yes.
like we still like connected, but we all started out in the same
Mm-hmm.
lane. We all was poor. We all were
Yeah.
struggling. We all were
Yes.
there. So I was no better than anybody. The
I
only
get it.
difference was is I like made a decision, because there's a
Mm-hmm.
difference. Myron Gold said this. He said there's a difference between a choice and a
Mm-hmm.
decision. A choice can be A or B.
Yeah.
I don't know. But a decision is a covenant that you
And
make
it's
with
definitive.
yourself.
Yes, indeed.
That's it. Like after I had my son, one of the reasons, and I'll just be
Mm-hmm.
transparent with you. Like one of the reasons why I was not even one of those women that was like, oh, I want to be a mom, white
Yeah.
picket. You know what I mean? Like because I ain't want my figure. I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be out of shape, because so many women that were like in my
Yes.
purview that had
Yes.
children and multiple children. Everything was just about like, oh, you can't get it off. And
Yes.
I was like, well, shit, I don't want to. You know what I mean? Like I'm cool.
Yes.
But then I had my son, and I delivered my son, and at the time when I was pregnant with him, I was fit in the gym, like looking
Yeah.
good, but I was still
Yeah.
thick, you know. And I gained like 36 pounds, my son, and then
Ooh,
like
that's all right. That's all right.
200. I delivered him at 206 pounds. I was like, oh,
Yes.
okay. I was like, okay. And then so the weight started coming off, but I was like, I made a decision with myself that I was not going to be
Mm-hmm.
unhealthy. And so since then, I've lost almost like 60
Ooh.
pounds. You know what I'm saying?
That's
And
all
so
right, because I
like,
lost it and then, look, pandemic happened,
right,
put it
but
right back on. No
yeah,
excuse.
so like during that time, I was just like leaning into the disciple, like the chosen, and like really like just like opening and not allowing like what I had
Mm-hmm.
already heard being church hurt everybody. Because listen, the thing is like I could tell you a couple of quotes or
Yes,
whatever out the Bible, but I didn't know anything, so I was rejecting something that I didn't even
yes.
know about, right? And so it wasn't so much that it was shoved down my throat,
Mm-hmm.
because I think people just did it because like it was just kind of status quo. That's
Yes,
what you did. You went to church.
yes.
You know what I mean? So they just following tradition without questioning
Anything.
anything. And so that's what I was doing. But like, man, along that journey and just along that way, and now like with the level of intelligence and curiosity that I
Mm-hmm.
have, and like when I'm reading like the Bible, and I'm like, dang, I don't know that word, so I gotta go
Yeah.
look it up. So a lot of people talk about like, I believe in God, but like, do you know it? Because like reading that book, bro, like it's 66
Uh-huh.
books in there, and I've read through like a couple
Yes.
of them so far, and it
Oh,
takes
it does?
time. So a lot of
Definitely.
it takes time. It's a
It
commitment.
is.
It's a
It is.
commitment.
And you have to have an open mind
But
because everyone's interpretation of a verse might be different.
100%. But you know, I started to realize like it is one of the most reliable historical
Yes.
texts, because people want to try to like compare history to
Mm-hmm.
science. And science is like you got to have like an outcome that come, but like history is
Yes.
something different, right? And the Bible is a historical. It is a
Mm-hmm.
historical text, and they have like go back like 6,000 of like different texts over. So
Yes.
like the interpretation and the lies that you would have to come up with, I believe that
Mm-hmm.
it is truth. I believe that it is truth. And I'm like this, man. If Jesus was that dude, like I want to rock with somebody who was all about like bringing
Most
the people
definitely.
to go and do it, to love each other, and to like, you know what I mean? That's like,
Yes. Look, I
yeah,
tell
like,
people, it doesn't matter to me what you
you
believe in,
know,
whether it's Buddha, whether you praying, whether you're into Islam or whether you just all about the universe. You have to believe in something. It is necessary, and especially to take some of the
man,
leap of faith that you've taken in your life.
yeah,
You have to be grounded in
man,
something.
it takes. But listen, you know, man, wow, God has had His
Ooh,
hands on me the whole time. Like I can just, bro, I've been in some precarious
look,
situations along the way.
I hear
You
you.
know what I mean? No
I hear you.
shame, no shame. And I know
Yes,
it couldn't be nothing but God. You know what I mean? And like just to have like a full circle moment about like
yes,
knowing that now. Like, you know what I mean? And
yes.
I'm
We are
cool with
all
that.
here through the
Like I'm
grace of
cool with
God and the prayers of others,
it.
and I firmly
Yeah.
believe that there are no ifs, ands, buts about it. Cousin, you come from small town Mississippi. You've lived in three major cities. You have traveled the world. I'm curious, what have
Yeah.
you learned about yourself throughout your travels?
Oh man, man. Listen, culturally, we're just not that different. You know, I had an opportunity when I was attending law school to do a summer
Yes,
in London, and that was my first time actually
I
out of the
saw you in
country.
Ibiza,
And I
baby. I
spent
saw you.
in Ibiza. Oh my God, in Ibiza and Manchester and like all over. I've been to Africa,
Oh,
Croatia, Dubai, Abu Dhabi.
a
Like I've been
blessing.
to
And you come from the red quarters in
Dublin.
Wigan.
Yeah, Dublin, Ireland. I've been to Paris. I've
A
been
blessing.
to,
A blessing.
wow, yeah, been like literally around the
Mm,
world, and and I've just learned that like there's so much value in like just
yes.
being who you are. Like people really like they can see it. You know, like earlier today, I had a call with another attorney who I met through this leadership program that I
Yeah.
participated in. She works for like one of these top law firms,
Yeah.
like in the
Yeah.
big dollars, and she posted something about a board member position
Um,
open for this empowering women leaders
yes.
in Houston's chapter, and I was
But
like, God, you for real? And I was like, let me hit Nikki up, like, and I was like, Nikki, I said, hey, I saw this such and
yes.
such about it, and so we had a conversation today. We had a kind
Speaking
of
into
initial
existence. Speaking
conversation,
into
and it was
existence.
like,
Yes.
yeah, and so she was like, man, TJ, she was like, I just want to keep talking to you because like your energy. She was just like, I just feel like, you
Oh,
know, I just feel
energy is
like, you
real.
know, like that energy
Yes.
that like, you know, she felt it, and like
Oh,
she was like, I was just absolutely like love to have you. And so I just found that like along the
yes,
way that like being open to like, you know, cultures and things, that's like it's so well received because, you know, we're in other people's
yes.
environments, you know what I mean? And so I think
So true.
it's our responsibility to like hold space for like their customs and their foods and all like all those things.
Yes.
And so man, trust me, I ate all the ugusi and the gold pepper soup and all that when I was in like, you know, Nigeria and
You
like
have
even in
an
like Abu Dhabi,
obligation
like
to do so.
different.
Yes, indeed.
So
Now,
yeah, you
there
know,
are
so it's
some
yeah.
times in your life, cousin, you could have easily tapped out. You could have called it quits. What keeps you motivated?
Oh man, um, man, the gift of life,
Yeah.
man.
Waking up
I
every day.
mean,
Yes, I get it.
like
Yes.
I feel like sometimes, honestly, sometimes I feel weird. Like people look at me like, why is she like so like
Why she
happy and
smiling?
stuff? Like why
Yeah.
is she like they can see like it's like a
Yes.
real like level
Yes.
of joy like
Yes.
on me.
Yes.
It with the haiku of all the
Mm-hmm.
other stuff, right? You know what I mean? With the baby acting out, with the
Oh, yeah.
you
Life,
know
life.
the work
Yes.
issues
Yes.
and you know all of that. But like generally though, like man, just like waking up today and like today was such a nice day outside. I
Ooh.
was like, oh man, like it's such a
Yes.
dope day today. You know what I mean? And like really like finding the joy in the little
Mm-hmm.
things. And so I was reading recently. I don't know if it's in this book. No, Adam
Mm.
Grant. Adam Grant. He's the guy. He wrote this book called
Yeah.
Think Again, and he's an organizational psychologist. I think I'm correct about this, but he said that you know talking about
Mm-hmm.
success and like defining success and like when you use the term success, most people think like
Oh,
what
yeah.
money or like fame or like
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And one of the things I come back to is like values. Like that's what he talked about. He said success is living your
Yes.
values daily because that way like no matter what, even if you're not living your values every single day, like you can tap into it at
Yes.
any time and then that can make you a success. And it's not like some like esoteric,
Yes.
you know, out there measure of something that the goalpost that'll just
Mm-hmm.
keep moving. And a lot of people think like once you know you start making the money in the six
Oh,
figures and you start
everything
making the
else is gonna
six
fall
figures, you know
together.
what I mean? It's like you know all that it after a while it's like yeah, it's cool. Like, and I still want to make a shit lot,
Most
like a
that
lot
look
more money.
reclaiming
You
it.
know what I'm saying? But I want to be able to do it in service of like other
Yes.
people, and like now, you know, being in a position to like
Yes.
encourage and mentor women, and you know, inspire, and even to, you know, do
Yes.
something like this where I can show up as like a relatable, a relevant, you know,
That's
voice
what it's
of
about.
just like, listen, I'm just being, and I often talk about this, like my role is an attorney. It's not who I
Yes.
am.
That's just a part
My
of you.
role is a
Yes. It's
mother.
one of the
That's
many hats that you
but that's
wear.
not who I am. Like if you take all that away, I still
Mm-hmm.
got to be me,
Yes.
right? And so like sometimes I even forget like, oh, you're an attorney. I'm like, I mean, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I am. You
Ooh.
know, but I like I don't even think about like I think about it as something like I just set out
Yes.
to accomplish something and I
I
did
love it.
it. That's like,
I
you
love
know
it.
what I mean? Kid playing basketball, whatever. It's like I just set out and I
I
did it.
love it.
And so, you know, the fact that I get an opportunity to wake up and make a different decision is
Yes.
that keeps me going because I know that I don't have to stay anywhere that I
Exactly.
don't want to be. And if I'm staying there, it's because what if you ain't changing it, you
Mm-hmm.
choosing it.
That's it. That's it. Now,
You know,
for as long as
so
I have known you, you have practiced the art of forward progress. What has your support system looked like over the years, and how has their impact impacted your growth?
yeah. Like man, like I tell you, like my mom, my dad, like whom I have, you know, an amazing
Yes.
relationship, you know, with them both, and my crazy dysfunctional family. I love y'all. You know, I love, you know, I mean, they were always there rallying me, and also, you know, listen, those are
Yeah.
relatives, right? But you get to
Oh,
choose family.
definitely.
and you get to choose family. And
I
I
love my chosen
have,
family, most definitely.
man, like my tribe of women and men around me is just like, I mean, again,
Yeah,
God, like just have an incredible, network of people around me that are super grounded,
yeah.
supportive. They love my
Absolutely.
baby. They
We
love
love your baby.
me.
Yes, we do.
I mean,
Yeah,
like, I mean, like,
that's a
I
blessing.
just, wow, I can spend so much time just
Yes.
talking about like the amazing people, you know, in my life. And I tell anyone that will listen, anyone when I'm back home, it's like, please, like, I remember I was back home and not long ago and I was talking to somebody young, and I just remember her saying so many times like, I can't, I can't, I can't. I'm like, you can do anything. What are you
Yes.
talking about? And it's like, it's such an unconscious response, you know like and it breaks my heart because, like, I see how rich
Mm-hmm.
my life is. Like, I don't have a lot of
I get
money,
it.
you know what I mean, and that's neither here nor there, but like my
And your
life is so
fulfillment is
rich.
not just
It's
coming
like, it's
from
so
a
rich.
bank account or from a dollar
Yeah,
sign. So I get
yeah,
that completely.
yeah, yeah, it's so rich. And so for that alone, like, that's the thing that just, like, it keeps me in
Mm,
amazement of, like,
I love it. I
what
love it,
it
cousin. I
takes, you
absolutely
know.
love it. Leaving home is not easy for most of us, for most people in general. And you see people who venture off from home and they manage to spread their wings and fly. You see other people who may leave and come back for whatever reason. What lessons have you carried with you from Mississippi on this journey?
Mm. Oh man, yeah. So this is good. This is good, man. So, like, I grew up in, around some
Hmm.
amazing women. Like, you know what I mean. And something that I've learned along the way is I value
Yes,
cleanliness. I value
yes.
order. You know what I mean? Because I was
Hmm.
raised around that, and so, like, I that's something that, like, I carry with me because I know that it is
Yes,
it is
yes.
valuable, right? You know what I mean? Um, I carried the fellowship with,
Hmm.
like, family
Oh, yeah.
with me. Connection is connection is also one of my values. Like, I
Hmm.
value connections with my family, with my friends, with life. You know what I mean? I value being connected to the
Yes.
source, and I can find joy in the little things. And so, I also brought that with
Oh,
me. And I also brought with me that, like, even though, like, growing up, um, even though our environments were not always safe, there were always people around you that were making sure that you
yep.
were safe. You know
Always.
what I mean? You know, like
Yep.
Miss Cassie, Miss Breland, Miss, you know
Yes.
what I mean? Like, you just fill in the blank. And so, along the way, that's something that I believe that um I've allowed myself to be
Oh,
that for other people. You know what I mean? To, like, to
and that's
really,
a
like, to be
blessing
that
because
that
life is
safe
about
space.
paying it forward. It
Yeah,
is definitely about paying it
right.
forward.
You know what I
So
mean?
I
Yeah.
totally understand that. You are a survivor,
Yep.
a mother, a daughter, a lawyer, an
Yep.
entrepreneur. You wear so many different hats. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Wow. Okay. So, professionally, I definitely see myself in an executive level role.
We're claiming it.
Yeah, within
We're
within the
claiming it.
organization. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So definitely an executive level role, and perhaps, in the area where, again, driving change towards diversity, inclusion.
Yes,
Um, yeah, across the organization, and perhaps even with the same organization that I'm with currently. And also, like, from a
yes,
creative perspective, cause see, like, I'm telling y'all that I deal with my issues real time, like, to put myself
yes.
out there, right? To put myself out there, because a lot of times, like, I feel like, oh, like, I don't have anything to say because someone has already said it, but, like,
That's
that's
not
not
true,
true
baby.
either, right? Because someone will be blessed
Yes.
from this message.
And every
You know what I
experience
mean?
is different.
And
Life is
like,
not one size fits all. So whatever you are putting into the universe comes
exactly.
from your own personal
Yeah,
experience.
exactly. So definitely it is my intention to find my space in the
Yes.
interest of nets, because the reality is that I have
Yes.
to, because that's where
Yes.
life is going. It's like digital. Like there's no way. And I'm not like a social media person. Obviously, I don't have like Instagram.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
knock it. It's just like,
Yes.
you know, it's not my thing like that. So, and I figured when I come back, or if when I make the decision, I need
Yes.
to make it like
Most
purposeful,
definitely.
like really intentional. I have Facebook. My mom, she's on Facebook, but I'm not like super super active, but at the same time, like to find a space where I'm contributing to the conversation, where I'm
Yes.
continuing to learn,
I see that for you.
and continuing to
I see
mentor.
that for you.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
So
We've talked about
yeah.
mindset. We've talked about wellness. We've talked about overcoming hurdles, breaking generational curses. What does your wellness routine look like?
Mm. Okay. So, I started cycling. So towards the
Yeah.
end of last year, I was just like, man, I want to ride a bike. And then I went on Facebook Marketplace and found me a nice road bike. There was like
Yeah.
$1,000 bike that I got for like
Oh shoot,
three hundred
you
fifty
better jump on it.
dollars. And then like right, then the weather started to get cold. But like
Yeah.
right before that, I'd ridden up to like
Woo.
50 miles. And I was like, oh, but the first day that I got it, I was like, ooh, girl, I can barely. I was like, ooh, this is gonna be rough. You know what I mean? But then, like, once I got out there, and then, like, man,
Oh,
nature
it
is healing.
is.
We Yeah, I mean, like, we really underestimate, like, now, like, when I go home, I have such a different appreciation for being home, like, just the
Both
serenity, the
of
peace,
us.
like,
The
the
trees, the
the
quiet.
fog on the grass when you
Yes.
wake up in the morning dew, and like all of those things, like I didn't appreciate
I understand.
back
I couldn't wait to
then,
get
but
out of
like
them woods. Now, can't wait to get back to them. Yes.
exactly. And so I ride my bike, and now that it started to warm
Mm.
up here in Houston, that I'm gonna ride my bike more. I go to the gym. I'm not like, I ain't no gym rat, or nothing like that. But one of the things that I will do is I just keep my
Yes.
body moving. I keep my
Yes.
body moving, and honestly, I don't just sit around
I
and
don't
eat
blame
like
you.
that.
Okay, look, I'm saying that as soon as I get up
I
off of here, I'm
mean,
gonna eat. Let me
I mean,
stop lying.
I know a lot of people say, like, I love food. I'm like, I do
Yeah.
too, but I also want to feel good, and it's like we don't
Yes.
just realize, like, and trust me, I eat it all. Don't get it twisted. I
I
don't,
get it
you know
though.
what I mean? Like,
I
I
get it.
eat everything, but just on a day to day
Yes, you're
basis,
eating to
I
nourish
don't.
your body.
You don't catch me at like
I
a
get that.
drive through, or like I don't
Yes.
drink soda, or
Yes.
I don't do those things. So like I know that those like incremental,
Yes.
intentional
Exactly.
actions that is in favor of
Yes.
my wellness and not against,
Exactly.
then those are the things that I do. But I don't restrict myself for anything. I'm gonna
I
eat my
don't
ice
blame you.
cream. I'm gonna
But
eat my
health is
cookies
the
to go
real
home.
wealth. That's where
I'm
it's at.
Yeah, I'm gonna drink. I'm gonna drink my alcohol if I want to, or whatever, and that's it. But you know what? The most
Yeah.
important thing is, though, learning how to
Mm.
regulate, learning how to, like, to get your
Mm.
nervous system in check, like that
Wow.
part. Doing some like deep breathing.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of times, just to like
Most
connect with your
definitely.
body, because like even I was out with my baby earlier, and pizza, and the little boy downstairs and weed, and I
Yeah.
could feel my anxiety, like my
Uh huh.
body starts to react. And a lot of times our body is reacting
Yes.
when
And
we're
we have to listen
responding,
to it.
when we're no
Yes.
when we're reacting to something,
Yes.
because we're not responding, right? We ain't
Mm-hmm.
responding to it. So when we
Yeah.
reacting, right, even that word
Yes.
react, we
Mm-hmm.
doing it again. So and just learning how to, like, just
I
take some
love
deep
it.
breaths.
I love it, cousin. I love it.
Yeah,
Now, I can't
yeah,
stress how proud I am of you. And I told you, I've watched from afar, always rooting for you and cheering for you because, again, I rock with my people and I love them the long way. We all we got. And whether that's my real family or my chosen family, it's just, how we got to be set up. So
yeah,
I love the growth because I've watched it. I've seen you over the
yeah.
years, and it's a beautiful thing. And now you are a mother, and there are so many different nuances to your life. So, cousin, final question. What advice would you give to Lil Wanna Boo Lil Wanda Boo from the Red Quarters that spent time in Sweet Beulah and all this other stuff. Um,
Oh,
what
yeah.
advice would you give to your younger self?
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, to cultivate self trust because we unfortunately were not taught to trust ourselves growing up because we were not taught to really think
Exactly.
about anything because our
Yeah.
caregivers, well meaning,
Yeah.
they told us what we thought and felt. I'm gonna give you something to cry about, or like all of those things. Like we were never even taught how to
Yeah.
even complete an emotion. How can I just be mad without you saying shut up?
Those
You know what I mean?
pre-programmed
Like, oh,
beliefs. Yes,
now I'm
I
sorting in
get
my
it.
body. You know what I mean? Now I'm sorting in my body. So, but no, like really, like cultivating that self trust because
Yeah.
that's been the thing. That's been part of the linchpin. Is like I
Yeah.
I trusted me, and just so happened my papa Lil and everybody else, they was like, all right, girl, you gonna do that? Let me show y'all.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna do it. And then I did it. And and it's just like and then you have to look for the ways that you're winning in your
Yeah.
life as evidence that you can keep
Yeah.
doing anything because we're looking for these big grand
Mm-hmm.
moments to happen to say no. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
micro moments in your life where you are living your values and you're
Yes.
doing what you say you're gonna do, right? And then you say, oh, snap. And then you looked up and you're like, dang, I done
Yes.
completed a degree.
Yes.
Or dang, I've done this because it's those
Yes.
moments that build that trust. And so I would say that
I
to
love it.
myself because while I had it like at the level that I
Yes.
have it now, after like
Yes.
years of intentional work, like if I had that back then ooh, I'd probably be at the White House. I don't know. Who knows where I'd be? You know what I
Yes,
mean?
I get it.
So,
I love you, cousin. I am proud
yeah,
of you. I am consistently rooting for you, and I can't wait to see what is on the horizon. You have had so many great accomplishments thus far, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. And I know that it is going to be epic,
yeah.
whatever it is. And I can't wait to follow up with you on that journey,
Feel
okay?
it.
That's what we do.
Yeah. We all
Yeah.
coming. We
Now
all
look, I'm
coming,
hoping I done did everything right. Oh, look, we good to go. Because I got to make sure I got a full bar of this conversation with you. But I love you, cousin.
Oh
You and
yeah. I love you too, man. This was
yeah,
so great. Thank you so much for
yeah,
choosing
that is what
me
we're here for.
to
That's
highlight
what
me
making change
and
is about, baby. You could have
yeah,
looked. It
making
could have gone
change,
either way.
and
You chose
and
life, and I love it.
yeah.
And I love everything
Yeah.
that you are doing. You get that
Yes.
little man a kiss. And cousin, thank you again,
I
okay?
will.
Have a good one, lady.
You
Love
too.
you.
I love you, girl. Bye.